What we do here is go back. What we do here is go back.
Hello. Welcome, guys. It's been a while since I did this episode. Well, not this episode, but this show. This is The Other Side. Welcome, everybody, to The Other Side. This is the podcast for the supernatural. About the supernatural.
Yeah.
All right, who do we got popping up over here? Ignoring chat has become one of us over there on Twitch. Thank you very much. Thank you for that follow over there, buddy. Definitely all is welcome. All is welcome to watch. And you're also welcome to the show today. So if you're in a Discord server and you want to be on the show, if you want to give your input, your thoughts on today's topic, feel free to drop into the general voice chat right over there on the server. Everybody is welcome. We do not welcome anything like racism, bigotry, homophobic slurs, anything like that. We don't allow that kind of stuff in our podcast or anywhere. So keep it clean. If you want to cuss, that's mighty fine with us. We do the same here. We are live right now on kick.com/Arrow Entertainment, YouTube channel Arrow Entertainment, and our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Arrow with an aim, and also anybody who's family or friend related over on Facebook. So I am live streaming right now on 4 different platforms. 4 different platforms. How am I doing that, you may ask? I use a website called Restream.io. I pay $14.99 a month for Restream.io. Now you can use it for free. There is a freebie that you can use. No watermarking or anything like that. But you only be able to stream up to 2 platforms at once. Now I have audiences on different platforms. Kick, Twitch, YouTube, etc. So if you're a live streamer and you want to get your content out there to multiple audiences as well, if somebody doesn't watch you on Twitch or Kick, they can watch you elsewhere. They can watch you over on YouTube if you want. However you want to play it. So, without further ado, well, before I get into today's topic, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, or if you're watching us on Twitch, links to our social media, other pages, link to our Discord, everything is down below in the description section and the about section. Like I said, if you guys ever want to join in on any of the shows, feel free to do so. Hop in the Discord, always in the VC, and become one of us. So, getting into today's topic, 7 minutes in, I am sorry for the long wait. I was getting everything set up. So this is the Othersyde podcast, as I already stated. We talk about the unknown, the supernatural, the paranormal, things that go bump in the night, things that are out of this world, things that we do not understand, that we cannot understand with our own 2 eyes, with any of our senses. Things that we have to blink twice, that we rub our eyes, that we scratch our heads, we turn our heads and look back just to do a double take. Yes, that kind of stuff. Now, later on today, I will be posting a pre-recorded episode of my podcast, CinemaCast, talking about the new movie, Exorcist Believers. If you have not seen that movie yet, please go and do so, and then check out the podcast later on. If not, feel free to watch the podcast if you don't mind spoilers and such. So, speaking of that, today's topic is exorcism. Exorcism. It's kind of a sketch, not a sketchy, but a very, what's the word for it? This is a topic that not a lot of people usually talk about. But it's an interesting topic, though. It can be. So what is exorcism anyway? And I can look at it from different platforms, different sides of the spectrum, different opinions, different articles, whatever. Let's go over to Wikipedia and see what they say about exorcism. Exorcism is the religious or spiritual practice of evicting demons, jinns, or other malevolent spiritual entities from a person or an area that is believed to be possessed. Depending on the spiritual beliefs of the exorcist, this may be done by causing the entity to swear an oath, performing an elaborate ritual, or simply by commanding it to depart in the name of the higher power. The practice is ancient and part of the belief system of many cultures and religions. I apologize, I'm chewing on a cough drop. As I stated before in other shows, I'm getting over a cold. I'm just now about there. So exorcism, usually the most we ever hear about exorcism is in movies. The most popular of the movies you may think of, or maybe two of them that come to mind, is William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist, which really, well, first he wrote the book for it, and then the movie came out based on the book. And as I stated, well, I will be stating in the podcast later on that's going to be uploaded, the movie The Exorcist was released 50 years. 50 years come this December. That is a long time ago, guys. That released, 12 years before I was born. I was born in 1985. That movie came out in 1973, 50 years ago. And you know, that movie was based on an actual event that happened right in the Maryland area. And I live in Maryland. And I can always look that up. And I always look up things while I'm live too. So, The Exorcist based on a true story. What really happened? All right, that's with Screen Rant. I don't want to see. Roland Doe, and a chilling true story of The Exorcist. Now, if you are new to the show, if you're new to the channel, if you've never watched any of my podcasts before, I'll let you know now. If you are in our Discord server, down where podcast leftovers is, the text chat, I have two separate text channels inside of that, which is Tuned In Live Scraps, which is my other podcast, and the Othersyde Scraps. Now, any articles, anything at all, any websites I visit, anything I'll talk about on the show, if you guys want to visit those sites and look at what I'm talking about, I put the links for them right there. So this article that I just pulled up, if you want to read along with me, if you want to read it later on, it is down in the text channel, The Othersyde Scraps, under Podcast Leftovers. So you guys can always check out what we're talking about. So, talking about the movie The Exorcist real quick. This article was published, 2 months ago, August 20th, okay, and updated August 29th. I guess so because of the movie The Exorcist Believers was coming out. So talking about The Exorcist, the 1973 movie, which I stated, and a lot of people may not think that it was based on a true story because of how everything was. Now, it was based on a true story. Now, everything in the movie does not have to be actually factual. There was a exorcism performed, yes, and the priests involved had a different name, most likely, along with the child who was possessed. In the movie, the child, portrayed by Linda Blair, who played the young girl Reagan, was the possessed. Now, in real life, it was an actual boy. In 1949, priests performed an exorcism on a boy referred to as Roland Doe, aka Ronald Hunkeler, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, Hunkeler, Ronald Hunkeler, in a chilling ordeal that became the real-life inspiration for The Exorcist. In the picturesque Belle Noire neighborhood of St. Louis, Missouri, sits a beautiful colonial-style house on Roanoke Drive that was once the home of the boy called Roland Doe, aka Robbie Mannheim, or Ronald Hunkeler. This kid had so many names. It looks normal on the outside, with an all-brick exterior and white shutters framing the windows. Huge trees and neatly manicured bushes dot the yard. Yet one of the most extraordinary horror stories turned urban legends in American history transformed this house into a landmark for the macabre and provided the real story for The Exorcist. The true story behind The Exorcist begins in the late 1940s in suburban Washington, D.C., with a German-American family. So it was in D.C. Technically it wasn't in Maryland, even though DC is located within the Maryland residence, but DC is the capital of the country, so it's close enough. Their 13-year-old boy, believed to be the name Ronald Hunkler, later referred to the pseudonym of Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim, was despondent over the loss of his beloved Aunt Harriet. Harriet was a spiritualist who taught him many things, including how to use a Ouija board. Oh, that's always nice. Wouldn't you love to have a family member or a friend to show you how to use an object like that? Now, about 3 years ago, before I continue with this, I was with Cypher. Some of you may not know him yet. You know, you guys are brand new to the program. He's a buddy of mine who comes on the podcast sometimes, and he will definitely be here tomorrow for our URC podcast. We did some videos together. This was like 3 or 4 Halloweens ago, and he had a novelty item from Spencer's. It was a novelty version of a Ouija board, and we spent 2 nights back to back, October 30th and 31st. We even did the bewitching hour. We were filming between midnight and 4 a.m. doing things with this Ouija board, doing everything we could to break all the rules with it. Because you would think, you got a Ouija board in front of you, you know, you practically know how to use it, even though we didn't have all the ingredients to go along with it. You know, it's like you got to have candlelight, you know, candlelights, you got to have hair, blood, whatever that, all that stuff is required. So we were sitting there with it, and we were doing everything we could with it. We didn't get no activity. We didn't get anything. Even Cypher had this chair that had a spirit clinging to it. So if you want to hear more about that chair, if you want to actually see the video about that chair, after this podcast is finished, if you are watching it on YouTube, I will put the link for that video down in the description section. Or, actually, I may do you one better while I'm live. Hold on. Let me just go over to my YouTube channel. I'll do you one better. I will put the video in my Discord server so that later on, if you guys want, you can actually take a gander at it. Let's see the other side. Oh boy, I thought I had a playlist. Apparently, I don't. Let's see, there's other stuff. And you can go through my channel, you can see gameplay clips, you can see old streams. Alright, so this is going to take a while, so I'm not going to do this live. But, like I said, if you guys are in our Discord server and you want to see that video of the chair and the Ouija board, I will post that in my server after the stream. You guys will not believe your eyes and ears what you hear and see. So, getting back to the story of Roland Doe. It's 13 years. Okay, alright, talked about that. You know, he learned how to use a Ouija. Okay, but I will say, like, depending on your religion, depending on what you believe, if you believe a Ouija board can bring spirits into your world, that you can talk to spirits or demons, if you believe that, then I know a lot of you will be like, okay, now, yeah, I'm avoiding that at all costs. I'm definitely avoiding that. I'm not going anywhere near that. More pain, you know, you don't have to. But people do take a chance when it comes to that stuff. Even people who follow cults, people who are Wiccans and witches and all that stuff, you know, it's like, yeah, anybody can have a, you know, a Ouija board. It's like a novelty item for people around the Halloween season. You know, Halloween is only, 20 days away, something like that. And you know people are going to have these items. You know people are going to be playing with them. So, that kind of thing, you know, people like to play tricks on each other with. Make them think, ooh, there's a spirit here, we're going to haunt your ass. That kind of thing. So, you know, but if you actually really believe in it, then don't mess with them. if you really do think that something is actually going to happen to you. So anyway, going back to Roland Doe. In early January 1949, shortly after Harriet's death, Ronald Hunkler began to experience strange things. He heard scratching sounds coming from the floors and walls of his room. Water dripped explicitly from pipes and walls. Most troubling of all was that his mattress would suddenly move. Disturbed, Ronald's family sought the help of every expert that they knew. The family consulted doctors, psychiatrists. God, I can't even read this morning, guys. And their local Lutheran minister. But they were no help. The minister suggested that the family seek the assistance of the Jesuits. The Jesuits? Am I pronouncing that right? Let me get Google Translate on that, because that's a new word for me. It's definitely a new word for me. So you guys will more likely be able to hear what I post in here. Google Translate. I do not want the app. I just want to translate. English. Jesuits. Okay. I'm sitting there saying Jesuits?
Jesuits.
Okay, it's Jesuits. Okay. So the assistance of the Jesuits. Okay. Father E. Albert Hughes, the local Catholic priest, asked his superior's permission to perform an exorcism on the teenager in late February of 1949. The church granted Hughes' request. Now, when it comes to exorcisms, from whatever you've learned about the topic at hand, or even watched in movies, certain priests have to be granted such a job. If they are ready to do it, if they have learned how to do it, if they've learned the role, if they've learned how to do the job, what everything to do, the prayers and everything, and how to do it. But then a lot of churches, a lot of the hierarchs in churches can deny you that too. And they usually deny people for certain reasons. Now, they usually go with a lot of different evidence. You know, they need evidence provided before you can consider performing an exorcism. You know, usually a lot of it is mental. It's a mental status of what's going on. That's why, you know, priests will tell people, take them to a psychiatrist, take them to the hospital to get x-rayed, to get evaluated. But then when you do an evaluation like a CAT scan or whatever, and everything comes back normal, you're like, well, he's normal. I don't know what the hell's going on. But then nowadays, if you hear anybody talking about an exorcism, they'll probably be like, oh, give him Ritalin. Give him some Ritalin or something. Maybe he's ADHD. Maybe he's bipolar or something. You know, nowadays, they will find everything in the book to label a kid as either ADHD or bipolar or anything of that nature. They will try to label them as that. But back in the day, you didn't know what ADHD really was, you know, to an extent. You didn't know about all these mental statuses, all these mental, you know, disabilities back then. Back then, you took them to the hospital to get evaluated. You took them to a psychiatrist. And then when the child starts turning their head and crawling on the walls and stuff, then you got an issue. If your child is Spider-Manning up the wall on the ceiling, there ain't nothing, there's nothing mentally wrong with a child. There's something inside of her. Imagine today, if my children were just hanging on the wall like spiders, spun their head around and said, hello, daddy. Oh, shit. Nope, I'm taking her somewhere. And they're going to be like, oh, maybe she's bipolar. Maybe she's got, maybe she's schizophrenic. Maybe she's got split personality syndrome. You know, maybe she needs medicine. No, my daughter's possessed. This bitch is sitting on the goddamn ceiling. She don't got web shooting at her hands. There's something wrong here. But back in the day, like I'm saying, I'm not trying to joke too much about it, but that's the thing. Back in the day, people didn't know much about mental illness. It wasn't too much of a thing. So what were the top options that you had to help your child out? Take them to the hospital to get evaluated, take them to a psyche doctor, or go to the church. Maybe the church will look into it. And usually they'll send a priest out to do an examination of their own to actually see if the child may need an exorcism performed on them. But then, the hierarchy of the churches, they got to be able to approve that. They got to look at all the evidence. They got to be able to see if the child actually has something inside of them in order to perform such a great deal. So, this going back to this article, this priest, Father Hughes, he was granted a request. For the exorcism, Hughes strapped the boy to the mattress and began his recitations. But he had to stop the rite when Ronald broke off a piece of the mattress spring and slashed the priests across the shoulders, leaving the exorcism unfinished. Now, that's another thing about when performing exorcisms. When you perform an exorcism, something is always bound to happen. Something is always going to happen. And it's always going to be something violent. You don't know what type of demon you're working with. You can have a 5-year-old, sweet 5-year-old child, sweetest in the world, very friendly with people. Next thing you know, he's talking like Rodney Dangerfield with a deep voice, calling you a cunt, a motherfucker, a piece of shit. And you're like, this ain't my child. This ain't my fucking child. There's something inside this child. And the child could be violent free. The child could be heavily against violence, and the demon inside is going to do everything they can to make this child suffer greatly and hurt those that are opposing it. But so far, this is only one of the acts that has happened, and I'll read more into, some more stories as we go along. So with this child, the exorcism went unfinished. A few days later, red scratches appeared on Roland Doe. One of the scratches formed the word Lewis, which indicated that to Ronald's mother that the family needed to go to St. Louis, where the Hunkelers had relatives, to find a way to save their son. More help arrives for Hunkler. Here we go. Cousin of the family was attending St. Louis University at the time of Ronald's struggles. She put the Hunkelers in touch with Father Walter H. Holleran and Reverend William Bodern. Yeah, Bodern. After consulting with the university's president, the two Jesuits agreed to perform an exorcism on young Ronald with the help of several assistants. The men gathered at the residence on Roanoke Drive in early March 1949. There, the exorcists witnessed it. The scratching on the boy's body, and the mattress moving violently. These were the same types of things that had happened in Maryland when the first exorcism failed. Amid these bizarre happenings, Bodern and Holleran, according to the reports, noticed a pattern in Ronald's behavior. He was calm and normal during the day, but at night, after settling in for bed, he would exhibit strange behavior, including screaming and wild outbursts. Ronald would also enter a trance-like state and start making sounds in a guttural voice. The priests also said that they saw objects mysteriously flying in the boy's presence, and noting that he would react violently when he saw any sacred object presented by the attending Jesuits. All of these details from the story of The Exorcist made it into the film, but there were more that didn't. So there's more that has happened than what you've seen on film that is portrayed in the film. At one point during the weeks-long ordeal, Bodern reportedly saw an X appear in scratches on Ronald's chest. I keep saying Roland. It's like, what name does this child go by? Roland or Ronald? It's like I keep going back and forth. I'm just calling him like Roland or something, Roland Doe. I'm just going to call him Roland. Even though his name is Ronald, I'm just going to call him Roland because it tricks you. It's like it tricks you. He had like 4 different names, and I'm used to calling him one particular name, but the article keeps bouncing back and forth, so I'm just going to call him Roland. Okay, his name is Ronald, but I'm going to call him Roland because that's what they refer to him as. Okay, so he saw an X appear in scratches on Roland's chest, which the priest believed signified the number 10. In another incident, a pitchfork-shaped pattern of red lines moved from the boy's thigh and snaked down towards his ankles. These type of things happen every night for more than a month. Once, a red X appeared on Ronald's chest, leading to the priest to believe that he was possessed by 10 demons. Now, I have seen movies where they have said, anybody can be possessed by more than one spirit, more than one demon. But then there's also movies that will say, how can you be possessed by more than one demon? Like, who all's in you? It's like split personality syndrome, kind of. But then you watch a movie like Insidious, where possession takes place in a very particular way, where the person falls asleep and their soul kind of leaves the body, and the body's left as an open door, a vessel, so anything in the spiritual realm can take its place, and you actually be stuck there in that realm while a demon or some kind of spirit takes over. The 2 priests never gave up as they continued the exorcism night after night. On the evening of March 20th, the exorcism reached an unhealthy new level. Ronald urinated all over the bed and began shouting and cursing at the priests. Now Ronald's parents have had enough. They took him to Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis for more serious treatment. Finally, on April 14th, a miracle occurred in Ronald's room at Alexian Brothers. It was the Monday after Easter, and Ronald awoke with seizures. He yelled at the priest, saying that Satan would always be with him. The priests laid holy relics, crucifixes, medals, and rosaries on the boy. At 10:45 p.m. that evening, the attending priests called on Saint Michael to expel Satan from Ronald's body. They shouted at Satan, saying that Saint Michael would battle him for Ronald's soul. 7 minutes later, Ronald came out of his trance and said, "He's gone." The teenager recounted how he had a vision of Saint Michael vanquishing Satan on the great battlefield. According to Bodern and Holleran, the strange occurrences and behavior ceased after that. And despite providing the true story of the Exorcist, Ronald Hunkler went on a live, they forgot to, they did a typo, they forgot to put something there, but they're trying to say that Ronald went on to live a completely normal life from that moment forward. That had to have been something. Exorcisms, they don't seem to take a day or so. It takes time, depending on what you're working with. It takes a lot of time. When a demon attaches itself, or a spirit attaches itself to something it truly likes, that it wants to be there, it's not going to let go. You're going to have to force it in some particular way to let it go. See, in the movie, one of the priests began lashing at Regan, slapping the hell out of her, choking her, told the demon to come into him, possess him, leave her alone. Which is what it did. And this is after using holy water and prayers from the Bible and doing everything they could. Ends up killing the older priest, and the younger priest, he does the one thing that you would never think of. Come into me, take me. And the spirit takes him over. And then he lashes out the window and commits suicide, saving Regan from her horror. But something like this, that happens, I mean, it's a heavily possibility. You use everything you can. But then you got the recollection from Roland here saying that he had a vision of Saint Michael vanquishing Satan on the great battlefield. That almost gives me a vision of somebody with an angel with wings who is like, "Be gone, Satan, be gone, Satan," and they're out there in an open field, kind of like Braveheart or something, and Satan's like, "No," that's what I'm thinking, that's the vision I'm getting. That's the vision I'm getting. The true story of The Exorcist, though. No one would ever have known about the exorcism of Roland Doe if not for an article in the Washington Post which reported in August 1949 that the priest had indeed performed an exorcism. But the article was scarce on details. It didn't even give a name, whether Roland Doe, Robbie Mannheim, or Ronald Hunkeler, and the case wouldn't make headlines again for more than 2 decades. In 1971, an author by the name of William Peter Blatty penned the best-selling novel The Exorcist, based on the unofficial diaries kept by Halloran and Bodern. The book stayed on the bestseller list for 54 weeks and spawned the hit movie in 1973. The movie took many liberties with its source material, turning the teenage Roland into a 12-year-old girl named Reagan. The movie's story also takes place entirely in Washington, D.C. and the Georgetown area, which is somewhat true to life since Roland was hospitalized for a week in Georgetown in late February of '49. Although the scratches, shouting, spitting, and cursing in the movie mimicked what Ronald had experienced, the boy's head never turned 360 like Reagan's did in the film. Similarly, Ronald never vomited green matter during his many tantrums, nor did he use a bloody crucifix to masturbate. Oh god, if you've ever seen The Exorcist, there's a scene in there where, Regan takes a crucifix and she's stabbing herself down there and she's going, "Fuck me, Jesus, fuck me, Jesus." That's probably like the most controversial scenes of the movie right there, where she's doing that. It's a 12-year-old who's doing that in bed, and you see the whole thing. After the exorcism of Roland Doe, I don't know why they go back and forth with the names. It's confusing. Following the exorcism of Roland, his family moved back to the East Coast. Sources, which have also referred to him as Robbie Mannheim, say that he found a wife and started a family. He named his first son Michael after the saint believed to have saved his soul. If Roland is still alive today, he would be in his mid-80s. William Bodern died in 1983 after serving the Catholic Church for decades. Walter Halloran lived until 2005 when he died of cancer. He was the last surviving member of the team that had performed the exorcism on Roland Doe. Following the St. Louis exorcism, the room in Alexian Brothers Hospital was boarded up and sealed. The entire facility was torn down in 1978. The house where the family lived in Maryland is now an empty lot after it was abandoned in the 1960s. That hospital, with everything that happened with that exorcism, and they said it was boarded up and sealed, and then the facility was torn down in 78. Can you imagine if the site that hospital was on, can you imagine being the most haunted place out there? And it possibly was. That site was probably haunted beyond belief because of all that has happened. And while most experts believe the actual name of Roland Doe to be Ronald Hunkeler, only one person reportedly knows for sure. In 1993, author Thomas Allen wrote a book on the story of Roland Doe's exorcism called Possessed. In writing the book, which relies heavily on Halloran's detailed account, Allen claims to have uncovered the true identity and story of Roland Doe, but has said that he will never reveal the person's true name. As for the cozy house on Roanoke Drive, it is sold to new owners in 2005 for $165,000. Perhaps the buyers embraced the property's legendary reputation that claims that Satan may have once lived in the upstairs bedroom. After this look at Roland Doe and the true story of The Exorcist, read up on the exorcism of Annalise Michael, the real-life Emily Rose, which is the next movie I'm not going to really talk about, but I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of it and you've probably seen it. Then check out 16 iconic horror film locations, including one from The Exorcist, that you can visit today. And I just clicked on that link. I brought the page up, guys, and you know what I'm going to do. If you're on the Discord server, that link is going under the Othersyde scraps. This is 16 horror film locations that you can still visit. Now, this all may not be may be much deal with exorcism and all, but it is an interesting topic. It's an interesting article, and I can cover that in the next episode of The Othersyde. So right now, guys, we are 40 minutes into the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we will definitely delve into what more about exorcism and how it is a thing today. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Hey guys, come on.
Columbia Pictures presents Igor, Fluffy, Grumpy, Featherbrain, and Amy,
Come on,
the extraordinary girl
You take that plane, you take those geese, and you fly away.
who will lead them home.
This is so cool! Woo! Dad, you're really flying with me.
Jeff Daniels, Academy Award winner Anna Paquin, Fly Away Home. Rated PG. Special sneak preview tonight and Sunday afternoon. Check newspapers.
My science project stinks.
Time for a fresh start, so let's get your project rolling.
I love Captain Crunch cereal. That's it, Captain.
Thank you for your exhaustive study of the mung bean. Cody?
Presenting the effect of Captain Crunch cereal on Mrs. Oak's science class. It's the delicious part of a balanced breakfast.
Let's study another bowl.
You and the Captain make it happen.
It's Juice and Cookies Baby Alive. Sipping from your juice box just for me. You're as real as can be. Juice and Cookies Baby Alive. It's fun making snacks just for you. You need your bib. Take a bite of your cookie. Drink your juice too. Changing your diaper when you're through. She really chews. Juice and Cookies Baby Alive. I love the way you make me feel. You're so real. New Juice and Cookies Baby Alive comes with their own juice box and everything you see here. Each sold separately, batteries not included. Wow, Ronald, that cheeseburger looks real enough to eat.
Why, thank you, Annie.
I didn't know Hamburglar liked art.
Well, he's always had good taste.
Ronald makes it magic. Where are you going with Mom's rug?
Gotta do some flying, like in Aladdin and the King of Thieves.
Now McDonald's has your favorites from Disney's new movie on video. One with each Happy Meal you buy.
Make me fly, oh genie of the magic lamp.
Gravy boat, Alex. That's a gravy boat.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to find out who is the Gold Ranger.
It's time for a gold rush.
His identity is unknown, even to the Power Rangers.
Who is this guy?
When overwhelmed with danger, like a streak of lightning, he appears when they need him most.
How about I even up the score?
Be careful. You will experience the extreme. This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Who is the Gold Ranger?
You've got to watch Fox Kids to find out.
Don't miss the season premiere of Power Ranger Zeo Monday after Beetleborgs on Fox Kids.
You're not afraid of ghosts, are you?
Not on your afterlife.
Not even big, ugly ones?
If you're girly ghosts.
Or stinky ones?
Somebody smell me.
How about nasty, slimy ones? We've been slimed. You. Okay, what about this one?
Don't be afraid of me. I'm a friendly ghost.
Don't be scared. It's an all-new Casper next Saturday morning at 8.
And welcome back, guys, to the Othersyde podcast. Hope it didn't take too long. Hope you guys enjoyed the commercial break right there. Bring some nostalgia to your lives. Once again, guys, if you are watching us live, twitch.tv/Arrow with a name, kick.com/Arrow Entertainment, and on YouTube channel, Arrow Entertainment. Or you may be a friend or family member watching us live on Facebook. If you guys want to support us, be sure to follow us on any of the platforms I had just labeled out. So, getting back into exorcism. Let's talk about exorcism in Christianity. In Christianity, exorcism is the practice of casting out or getting rid of demons. In Christian practice, the person performing the exorcism, known as the exorcist, is often a member of the Christian church. or an individual thought to be graced with special powers or skills. The exorcist may use prayers and religious materials such as set formulae, gestures, symbols, sacred images, sacramentals, etc. Certain Christian theologians have held that wearing of a head covering by Christian females confers protection against female fallen angels, which they teach are referenced in 1 Corinthians 11:3-10. I guess I pronounced that right, Corinthians. I never really read the Bible. I may know a couple excerpts here or there, whatever, but I've never been really fully into reading up on the Bible or anything like that. So let's go ahead back on in here. I think I lost my... Let me see here. Okay. So, it's talking about fallen angels. Let's talk about that real quick. Fallen angels. Luke 10:18 refers to Satan falling from the heaven, and Matthew 25:41 mentions the devil and his angels, who will be thrown into hell. All synoptic gospels identify Satan as the leader of the demons. Paul the Apostle states in 1 Corinthians 6:3 that there are angels who will be judged, implying the existence of wicked angels. 2 Peter 2:4 and Jude 1:6 refer to angels who have sinned against God and await punishment on Judgment Day. The book of Revelation, chapter 12, speaks of Satan as a great red dragon whose tail swept a third part of the stars of the heaven and cast them onto earth. In verses 7-9, Satan is defeated in the war in heaven against Michael and his angels. The great dragon was thrown down, the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He has thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Nowhere within the New Testament writings are fallen angels identified with demons. But by combining the references to Satan, demons, and angels, early Christian exegetes equated fallen angels with demons, for which Satan was regarded as the leader. So I wonder where they got the term demons from. If in New Testament writing, let's see, the writings are fallen angels identified with demons. So if they're not demons, then what are they? Why do we call them demons then? Who knows? So anyway, back to it. Let's see. The Exorcist often invokes God, Jesus, and several different angels and archangels to intervene with the exorcism. Protestant Christian exorcists most commonly believe the authority given to them by the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Holy Trinity, is the sole source of their ability to cast out demons. In general, people considered to be possessed are not regarded as evil in themselves, nor wholly responsible for their actions, because possession is considered to be unwilling manipulation by a demon resulting in harm to self or others. Whereas like nowadays, or even back then, like I said, people would often take their children or anybody in the family-wise, they would take them to a hospital or psychiatric, get evaluated to see if there is something mentally wrong with that person. Now let me ask you, okay, if you have a child who is as loving and as caring as can be, who has learned right from wrong, who has never done anything terrible in their life, they may have made a few small mistakes here or there, but this is somebody that will never hurt a maggot, who would never hurt a maggot or a roach. One day looks at you and says, "Fuck you, Dad. Fuck you, Mom. Fuck this, fuck that. I'm gonna go kill this." Do you think that child is in need of psychiatric help. You could take him to the hospital. You can get him evaluated. You can get him CAT scanned and everything. He come back normal. But do you honestly think that something, a child like that does something like that is going to need psychiatric help? Nah, there's definitely something wrong with that. But people don't really want to go and lean toward religion that way. They don't want to rely on a church or somebody who works for the church or who's religious like that. They don't want to rely on that kind of stuff because to them that's preposterous. It's preposterous that it would be something of religious nature. Look around you, people. Everything in our lives is a religious nature. Look at what's going on now in Revelations and all. Everything that's going on with these wars in the Middle East. What's going on back here at home in the United States. Everything has been proclaimed in the Bible in certain verses, and people out there that study the Bible, claim to study the Bible, see this at first hand. And they know that Jesus is coming, that Judgment Day is coming, the apocalypse is coming. We don't know when, but we know it's close. But when it comes to something as simple as this, like an exorcism, okay? People don't want to look at it like that. They don't want to see it like that. They want religion to be the furthest thing from their minds. They don't want to sit there and believe that their child is honestly possessed by a spirit or a demon. They don't want to think that. But then when you have no choice, then you have to look upon a church. You have to go to a church and have some kind of belief. Take a look at the movie Exorcist Believers. And I will give you this tidbit right here. And I'm going to have it in the CinemaCast podcast later on. You got a father who has lost his faith in God over something that has happened in his life tragically. But then his faith is restored toward the end of the movie in some miraculous way. And that's all I'm going to say. Just like in any other movie out there, it doesn't even have to be something like The Exorcist. Take a look at M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. You got Mel Gibson, who plays a priest who has lost his faith in God because his wife died. And he blames God for all these issues that have happened, all his problems. But then what happens throughout the movie? Aliens come down and invade Earth, and him and his family under attack, and he has to spend most of the movie defending his family against this fight. But then he uses beliefs, he uses prayers to save his son, save his kids. And then they, somewhat just scared away the aliens. They fight back against the aliens, and the aliens take off. What happens at the very end of the movie? His faith is restored. He returns to to the church, to what he used to do, and he's a priest. His faith is restored. You start seeing that in a lot of movies dealing with religion, where you got somebody who loses their faith in God, whether they are a priest or they're a person who believes heavily in everything religious. Everything religious. They believe in heaven and hell. They believe in Jesus and God and Satan. But what I'm getting at is when it comes to something like this, and people usually go to the church as a last minute ordeal. They don't want to. They don't want to involve religion in their child's lives or their friends' lives or their family members' lives. They don't want to introduce that stuff because to them, like I said, it's preposterous. But you never really know. So the mainstream rituals usually take this into account, making sure that there is no violence to the possessed, only that they be tied down if there is potential for violence. Requested and performed exorcism became began to decline in the United States by the 18th century and occurred rarely until the latter half of the 20th century, where the public saw a sharp rise due to the media attention exorcisms were getting. There was a 50% increase in numbers of exorcisms performed between 1960s and the mid-1970s. So, there was an incline in the 1900s. There was a big decline by the 18th century, where it's like, okay, nobody's being possessed anymore. We think we got all the witches in Salem. Remember the whole story about witches in Salem? We'll cover that in another episode. But you figure, there's no witches. There's no evil doneth upon us. But a 50% increase in exorcisms between the 1960s and 70s? What was going on then? Is there something that we're not seeing that is trying to make itself known between the 1960s and 70s? Who was very popular back in that day for researching that type of stuff? Ed and Lorraine Warren. They have an occult museum in their house. Sadly, they're both passed on, but the museum is under the guardianship of their children. But yeah, Ed and Lorraine Warren, they viewed a lot of these different cases. One of which in the 1970s was the Amityville case. That's the most popular one. Not just a haunted house, but also possession. Possession. They never really seeked out a priest to do an exorcism. Maybe to come out and bless the house. That was about it. But that's also another skepticism right there with the Amityville terror tale. But damn, to see a 50% increase between the 1960s and the mid 1970s. Were these people possessed on drugs or something? Like the whole drug pandemic started happening in the mid 1960s through the 70s. That's when it began. Peace, love, and rock and roll, man. Down with war. Let's just go out there, get naked, and smoke some grass and some other weird shit, man. Maybe that's where the exorcism need to come in at. I don't know. In Catholicism, if you're a Catholic, exorcisms are performed in the name of Jesus Christ. There is a distinction between major exorcisms and minor exorcisms. Minor exorcisms are included in some blessings in which priests create sacramentals such as blessed salt, and are also found in the ritual scrutinies of the... Okay, I can't even pronounce that goddamn word. I'm going to need... Hold on, let's see. Okay. I need to copy this word. Because I cannot pronounce that word for the life of me. I should have kept this website up. See, cool. Translate. Okay. Sound. There you go.
Catechumens.
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 Okay. So, the scrutinies of the catechumens. A related practice is deliverance ministry. The distinction between deliverance ministry and exorcism is that exorcism is conducted by priests given special permission from the Catholic Church, while deliverance ministry is prayer for people who are distressed and wish to heal emotional wounds, including those purportedly caused by evil spirits. So it's with Catholic beliefs, with the Catholic churches. That's where it comes in at, where they need special permission. And the church can always deny them permission of doing it. They can always deny it because there could be violence, there could be possible death. Anything can happen to the priest, anything can happen to the family. That's one of the reasons why they will never agree upon it. They would never agree upon something like that. The Catholic rite for a formal exorcism, called a major exorcism, is given in Section 11 of the Ritual Romanum. Yes, I'm pronouncing that right, Romanum. The ritual lists guidelines for conducting an exorcism and for determining when a formal exorcism is required. Priests are instructed to carefully determine the nature of the condition is not actually a psychological or physical illness before proceeding. Which is why they usually say take them in for evaluation in a hospital, take them to a psychiatrist, and get their outcome, get their conclusion on it. In Catholic practice, the person performing the exorcism, known as an exorcist, must be an ordained priest. The exorcist recites prayers according to the rubrics of the rite and makes use of religious materials such as icons, sacraments, which is, an example, holy water, and holy relics. The exorcist invokes God, specifically in the name of Jesus Christ, as well as the most blessed Virgin Mary, saints of the Church Triumphant, and the Archangel Michael to intervene with the exorcism. According to Catholic understanding, several weekly exorcisms over many years are sometimes required to expel a deeply entrenched demon. See, when I see right there something about the Archangel Michael, remember back to the article I was reading about Roland Doe, where he was talking about Saint Michael on the battlefield fighting Satan to vanquish him. Never have I seen a movie where they were talking about this Archangel Michael vanquishing something from the boy or the girl, vanquishing a demon, vanquishing Satan. You never hear about that. You never see that in a movie. That's like one aspect they never include in movies. Why? People perform exorcisms all the time, but a movie doesn't show the entire true story. They don't show the entire thing that's supposed to take place with all of this. They don't show everything at all. That's amazing. That's amazing. Saint Michael's prayer against Satan and the rebellious angels, attributed to Pope Leo XIII, is considered the strongest prayer of the Catholic Church against cases of diabolic possession. The Holy Rosary also has an exorcistic and an intercessory power. Holy water is a common aid for exorcisms. Its use belongs to the prayer of Saint Michael. So that was the Christianity and the Catholicism. Now, if you're Orthodox, Eastern Orthodoxy Church has a rich and complex tradition of exorcism. Practice is traced to the biblical accounts of Jesus expelling demons from exhorting his apostles to cast out devils. The church views demonic possession as the devil's primary means of enslaving humanity and rebelling against God. Orthodox Christians believe objects, as well as individuals, can be possessed, such as those any object out there can carry a spirit or a demon with it. Take into account, look at what the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, have in their museum. Their museum is full of cursed objects, full of possessed objects. So if you're Orthodox, if that's your religion, you believe that objects can be cursed, and I believe it too. Take a look back at the when the natives once ruled the land, the Native Americans. They believe that certain sacred ground is haunted, is possessed by demonic spirits, demonic entities. So, if you go on tainted land and you take a rock from tainted land and you take it home with you, what do you think is going to happen? You just carried a malevolent spirit with you. And until you can get rid of that object, you got to take the object back. Or until you take it back, you're going to be haunted for life. I've seen movies that have done that. I've read stories where that has been a thing. There were even movies where they returned the object or destroy the object and the haunting would still remain. But if an object is possessed, if there is something around a cursed object, the only way to get rid of your haunting, the only way to get rid of your issues, is to get rid of the object. Now, in true case, I want to go back to my buddy Cypher, Tom. He had this chair, and once again, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the video for you guys so I can put it in the Discord. He had this chair that he acquired from this photograph store. This is the photography place at the mall near us. And this is when this place was around in the mall, several years ago. Okay, I think I just found him. There we go. Okay. So, the haunted chair. Here we go. So, for you guys that are in the Discord, I am going to put this in the main hangout. You guys are here. There's the haunted chair. I hope I don't have to go through multiple. Yes, I do. God damn it. But anyway, so Tom had this chair that he acquired from the photography place, and they told him that a woman had passed away in the chair prior to that. But he didn't pay much mind to it. You figure when you hear about somebody passing away in your house or died on the bed that you laid in or whatever, you usually think, oh my God, something's going to haunt my ass. Something's going to attack me. Well, you don't know that unless something actually does. And until then, more power to you. Okay, so let's see. That's the Ouija board. Let me get this other one here. This one. This is another one that's like an hour long. I'm going to post that one again in the Discord. Into the Devil's Seat. Now with this one, it was me, Tom, and another buddy of ours. His name was Tim. We all took turns sitting in this chair. We all took turns. Tim had some kind of effects with him, which later were kind of debunked. But Tom, when he sat in the chair, he had some things going on with him, especially when he went and got up. He ended up collapsing to the floor. I mean, he did play it off like, okay, maybe my sugar was low and da-da-da-da, but there was some things that you can hear and you can see when watching that video. So if you guys want to check that out, that's in our Discord. Both of those. So yeah, he had a possessed chair. Anytime in his household, something had happened. Some kind of spirit appeared. Something fell. Something happened, to change his mood. Something affected his body. Anything of that nature. So he ended up passing the chair on to a friend of his. So we don't know if anything happened to his friend or not. He has a new chair. Or it may have been the house that they lived in. Who knows? But that's another example of an object that is cursed. Possessed. Now going back to the Warrens. Look at their occult museum. What is the number one thing they have in that occult museum that is possessed heavily? The Annabelle doll. Yeah. That little Raggedy Ann doll named Annabelle. And of course, the Conjuring series has done their own, Warner Brothers and all them, they've done their own versions of the Annabelle doll, making it look terrifying, but that's not what the Annabelle doll is. They emphasize the horror to make it more scarier. But the Annabelle doll was actually a Raggedy Ann doll. It never came to life. It did move at times, but you have to see it move. It didn't go around killing people, but things happened. Now, there was a story where a biker and his girlfriend came and visited the museum, and the biker, he was all giddy up and laughing about things, and he was teasing. He was teasing the doll to do something. And the doll did something, oh well, alright. It really did something. On their way back from that, they got into an accident. The biker didn't survive. The girl, she barely survived, but she made it out with scratches and a couple breaks, a couple fractures. That's what happens with possessed objects. Or in today's society, you fuck around and you find out. As simple as that. As in other Christian churches, Orthodox exorcists expel demons by invoking God through the name of Jesus Christ. Unlike the Roman Catholic Church, all priests of the Orthodox Church are trained and equipped to perform exorcisms, particularly for the sacrament of baptism. Like their Catholic counterparts, Orthodox priests learn to distinguish demonic possession from mental illness, namely by observing whether the subject reacts negatively to holy relics or places. All Orthodox, don't even know that fucking word, books include prayers of exorcism, namely by St. Basil and St. John. God, do I really gotta fucking do this one again? Nah, I close it out. I'm not even gonna pronounce it. It's St. John. We'll just call him St. John. Fucking Orthodox theology. Orthodox theology. Can't read. Takes a uniquely expansive view of exorcism, believing every Christian undertakes exorcism through their struggle against sin and evil. The whole church, past, present, and future, has the task of an exorcist to banish sin, evil, injustice, spiritual death, the devil from the life and of humanity. Both healing and exorcising are ministered through prayers, which spring from faith in God and from love of man. All the prayers of healing and exorcism composed by the fathers of the church and in use since the 3rd century begin with the solemn declaration, "In thy name, O Lord." Now, there's other different religions and different views that look into exorcism. I'm not going to read all of them today, but we did look into some of the most, I guess, important ones. So if you guys want to read up more on other religions and how they are affecting, or how their take of exorcisms, I just posted a link for it right there in the Othersyde Scraps Exorcism. It's from Wikipedia. But the other ones include Lutheran churches, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There's criticism about it, and then you deal with Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, Sikhism, and Chinese folk religion. Let's talk about the criticism right here with Christianity. When someone becomes ill, pastors, exorcism practitioners, will visit the sick person's home, especially in rural areas and communities. Then, with the help of others who believe in faith healing, strive to heal them with the use of drugs or anything else. Sometimes the exorcist party gets in the way of local authorities or public health officials trying to heal the sick person. Sometimes they don't even ask the sick's consent, a child or a person who can't respond consciously to them, and continue the process. This has not gone well, and critics from scientists, health officials, and the general public have expressed their fears and dislikes for why this should be halted, since the sick individual often dies when he could have been spared if he was put in a common health system. That becomes an issue when it comes to exorcisms. A lot of people will look into trying to help a person with medicine. Sometimes it doesn't work. That's why when an exorcism was performed in many different cases, the person who is possessed or sickly ill or whatever in that case ends up dead, ends up dying. when you watch a movie like The Exorcism of Emily Rhodes, when you read about that story, about the Catholic Church, or I don't know what the religion of the church was, but when you hear about the priest being sued by, I think it was the parents or whoever was involved when the whole lawsuit with it, and they went into detail with what had happened. And you got a lot of skeptics in court. Many that may not, be all that religious, that may not believe in this type of stuff. It's like, you killed this child, you killed him. There's always that possibility that, there's going to be somebody skeptic out there that says, no, you killed this person. What were you doing there to begin with? That always happens. And then there's a scientific view on it. And this is also, scientific view. Demonic possession is not a psychiatric or medical diagnostic or diagnosis recognized by either the DSM-5 or the ICD-10. I do not know what those are. Let me look those up. DSM-5 is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder 5th edition. That is a fucking mouthful. ICD-10 is the International Classification of Diseases. Okay, they are part of the WHO family. Jesus Christ, part of the WHO. So the WHO gets involved. I guess the WHO and the CDC get involved when it comes to stuff like that. Okay. I mean, after all, the CDC did come out a few years ago and gave guidelines as if, hey, if there's ever a zombie apocalypse or a zombie outbreak, do this. Remember that? Those who profess a belief in demonic possessions have sometimes ascribed to possession the symptoms associated with physical or mental illnesses, such as hysteria, mania, psychosis, Tourette's syndrome, epilepsy, schizophrenia, or dissociative identity disorder. I actually did read that. And that's what does happen. A lot of people will look at it from a scientific view and say, they're not possessed. Maybe they're schizophrenic. Maybe they're psychotic. Who the fuck knows? That's why people get tests done. In this case, in this matter. Additionally, there is a form of monomania called, oh Jesus Christ! I'm gonna have to. I want to see what this one is. Okay, I'm gonna keep Google Translate up. I'm tired of bringing it up, for words I can't read. God. Okay, what is this word?
Demonomania.
Demonomania. Sounds like a fucking song. Sounds like a fucking heavy metal song. Hey!
Demonomania.
Demonomania. What is this one?
Demonopathy.
Demonopathy. Here we go. Demonopathy. Alrighty. I'm alive. Somebody just messaged me. Okay. Demomania. Demonopathy. Demomania. Sounds like a fucking heavy metal song, don't it? Anyway, back at the demonopathy, in which the patient believes that they are possessed by one or more demons. The illusion that exorcism works on people experiencing symptoms of possession is attributed by some of the placebo effect and the power of suggestion. In some cases, suggest that supposedly possessed persons are actually narcissists or have low self-esteem and act demonically possessed in order to gain attention. That can be true. Sadly, that can be true. There are people out there that are craving attention from someone or somewhere, that they will do something like that. They will be complete assholes and say, hey, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna gut you like a fish, bitch. And then you're like, where the hell did that come from? I don't know. I'm not trying not to be funny, I'm not trying to, be funny about it. But yeah, that is a thing, from a scientific view. That's why a lot of tests are conducted. A lot of tests are conducted over this kind of thing to make sure somebody is not making it up, that they're not acting a fool when it comes to something like this, you know? Within the scientific community, the work of psychiatrist M. Scott Peck, a believer in exorcism, generated significant debate and derision. Much was made of his association with and admiration for the controversial Malachi Martin, a Roman Catholic priest and a former Jesuit, despite the fact that Peck consistently called Martin a liar and a manipulator. Other criticisms leveled against Peck included claims that he had transgressed the boundaries of professional ethics by attempting to persuade his patients to accept Christianity. So it's one of those where it's like, come to the other side. Come join us in Christianity. Please be a believer. There is something going on with you. We cannot explain it, but please, we need you to follow these beliefs so we can help you out. That kind of thing. That's what they're going for. Exorcism and mental illness. One scholar has described psychosurgery as neurosurgical exorcisms with I am not for words today when it comes to pronouncing words. Alright, here comes another one. And, oh god, did I closed it out. God damn it. Yeah, he's gonna come for me. God damn it. I'm sorry I can't read. I'm not thinking straight.
Trepanation.
Trepanation. There we go. I'm keeping that up. Neurosurgical exorcisms with trepanation. What is trepanation? Trepanation! Prize from Old French, from medieval Latin. It is a surgical intervention in which a hole is drilled or scraped into the human skull. The intention perforation of the cranium exposes the dura mater to treat health problems related to intracranial diseases or release pressured blood buildups from injury. I've seen this happen in movies. So that's what that is. I've seen this happen in movies where they like I said, they drill a hole at the very top of your head, into your skull, to your brain, to relieve pressure, in hopes that will release some diseases or whatever. In ancient times, holes were drilled into a person who was behaving in what was considered an abnormal way to let out what people believed were evil spirits. Evidence of trepanation have been found in prehistoric human remains from, what the fuck is this word here? I'm not going to look into them, but I'll put the word in the damn thing. What kind of people are these?
Neolithic.
Neolithic, okay. Remains of Neolithic times onward. The bone that was trepanned was kept by the prehistoric people and may have been worn as a charm to keep evil spirits away. Evidence also suggests that trepanation was primitive emergency surgery after head wounds to remove shattered bits of bone from a fractured skull to clean out the blood that often pools under the skull after a blow to the head. So trepanation. That's an interesting thing. Interesting way of dealing with those demons in your head, people. Very interesting way indeed. So, meanwhile, another scholar had equated psychotherapy with exorcism. In the United Kingdom, over in the UK, the numbers of exorcisms performed were increasing as of 2017. Oh my, recently. A Church of England think tank, Theos, stated that the exorcisms mostly took place in a charismatic and what the fuck type of church is this? Back to the translator. Oh shit, fuck me in the ass. Why? What is this word?
Pentecostal.
Pentecostal, there we go. Pentecostal churches. And are also among communities of the West African origin. Frequently, the people exercised, were people with mental health problems who often stopped taking their medications in response to the exorcism. The report described the exorcism as a well-meaning initiative with the potential for self-harm, with the risk of constituting psychological abuse. So that's all. That can be a thing too, you know. Is he on his medication? No, he's not. The motherfucker's possessed again. Grandma, get the pills, and I'll get the water hose. It's funny how we take a look at this kind of stuff. All right, anthropological. I'm not going to attempt that word again. I'm tired of it. I got the damn translator. What is the word?
Anthropological.
Anthropological. I was close. Okay, anthropological view. Exorcism is the religious practice of evicting spirits from person or place. The phrase itself is most commonly associated with Christianity, specifically Catholicism. It is recognized culturally around the world and in modern discourse. The phenomenon has been made popular both in cinema and literature, with notable films such as The Exorcist taking a forefront in pop culture. The circumstances in which an exorcism would take place were determined by values set in place by religious collectives reflecting the time period. Even in modern times, the necessity of an exorcism is dictated by religious collectives. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops state on their website, the actual determination of whether a member of a faithful is genuinely possessed by the devil is made by the church. And that just goes on and on. I am not going to look into all. But let's look at the notable exorcisms and exorcists in history. So, and there's quite a few. Oh my God. Nah, that's not all of them. That's just quite a few. Looks like it. Starting in 1578, Martha Brazier was a young woman who was made infamous around the year of 1578 for her feigned demonic possession discovered through exorcism proceedings. 1619. Oh my God. And I wonder if I can put this whole thing into Google Translate. Let me see if Google Translate. Okay, so this is the name of the person that I'm going to read.
Mademoiselle Elisabeth de Renfeing.
Yeah, whatever she said. That person, who was having become a widow in 1617, was later sought in a marriage by a physician. After being rejected, he gave her potions to make her love him, which occasioned strange developments in her health, and proceeded to continuously give her some other forms of medicament. The maladies which she had were incurable by the various physicians that attended her, and eventually led to a recourse of exorcisms as prescribed by several physicians that examined her case. They began to exorcise her in September of 1619. During the exorcisms, the demon that possessed her purportedly made detailed and fluent responses in varying languages, including French, Greek, Latin, Hebrew, and Italian, and was also to know and recite the thoughts and sins of various individuals who examined her. She was further also purported to describe in detail the use of various languages, the rites and secrets of the church to experts in languages that she spoke. There was even more mention of how the demon interrupted an exorcist who was also after making a mistake in the recital of the exorcism rite in Latin, corrected his speech and mocked him. Nice. 1778, we got George Luckins. Nothing on him, but let me see if there's a thing behind him. Let's see. George Luckins was a tailor infamous for his alleged demonic possession and a subsequent exorcism that occurred in 1788 when he aged 44. His case occasioned great controversy in England. There is a whole story on this, guys, on Wikipedia. Of course, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if you guys want to read it, like I said, come on over in our Discord, the other side scraps. It is right there for your liking, for your reading. Let's go back to the other thing here. 1842 to 1844, Johann Blumhardt performed the exorcism of, oh my, what the fuck is that name? The exorcism of who is this? That should be I should start calling it that. The exorcism of who is this?
Gottlieb Benditus.
Gottlieb Benditus. Oh my god. Why does that sound like something that would be an Urban Dictionary? Anyway, exorcism of Gottlieb Benditus over a 2-year period in Germany. From 1842 to 1844, Pastor Blumhardt's parish subsequently experienced growth marked by confession and healing, which he attributed to the successful exorcism. Then we fast forward to 1906. Clara Seeley or Keeley, whatever that name is, okay, was a South African schoolgirl who claimed to be possessed. In 1947, art expert Armando Genesi claims Salvatore Dali received an exorcism from the Italian friar Gabriele Maria Berardi, which he was in France. Dali would have created a sculpture of Christ on the cross that he would have given to the friar in thanks. Then we got the 1949 story of Robbie Mannheim. We've already talked about that, the inspiration for the novel and the movie The Exorcist. That taking place in 1949. And then we got 1974, Michael Taylor. All right, Michael Taylor. Here's another one that I am going to put in here because this is a British killer. Oh, shit, guys. You might want to read up on this one. A British murderer. Let's talk about this one. Michael Taylor became notable in England in 1974 as a result of the Othersyde murder case and his alleged demonic possession. What is another story that became most famous around that time, which talked about demonic possession and murder? Y'all should know this one. The Amityville case. Good old Amityville case. Ronnie DeFeo, who claimed to be possessed by a demon in their house, who told him to murder his family. Which he did. He murdered his parents, his younger siblings. Then he turned himself in. But apparently he also had an accomplice too. Later details explained that he did have an accomplice with all that as well. Taylor lived in Othersyde, West Yorkshire, working as a butcher. In 1974, Taylor's wife Christine stated to a Christian fellowship group that which Taylor belonged that his relationship with the lay leader of the group, Marie Robinson, was carnal in nature. Michael Taylor admitted that he felt evil within him and eventually attacked Robinson verbally, who screamed back at him. During the next meeting, Michael Taylor received an absolution, but nevertheless his behavior continued to become more erratic. As a result, the local Visar called in other ministries experienced in deliverance in preparation to cast out the demons residing within the man. The exorcism, which occurred on 5 and 6 of October 1974, 49 years ago, 49 years ago, this actually happened in St. Thomas's Church in Galber. Was headed by Father Peter Vincent, the Anglican priest of St. Thomas's, and was aided by a Methodist clergyman, the Reverend Raymond Smith. According to Bill Ellis, an authority on folklore and the occult and contemporary culture, the exorcists believed that they had, in an all-night ceremony, invoked and cast out at least 40 demons, including those of incest, bestiality, blasphemy, and lewdness. At the end, exhausted, they allowed Taylor to go home, although they felt there was at least 3 demons. Insanity, murder, and violence were still left in him. Oh, that's terrific. That was fun. They left the worst in him. The last of the worst. Insane, murder, and violence. This is when he committed the murder. While at home, Taylor brutally murdered his wife, Christine. He attacked her with his bare hands, tearing her eyes and tongue out and almost tearing her face off, then strangling their poodle. He was found by a policeman naked in the street covered in blood. At his trial, Taylor was acquitted on the grounds of insanity. He was sent to Broadmoor Hospital for 2 years, then spent another 2 years in a secure ward in Bradford before being released. The bizarre nature of this case attracted significant publicity. But then we got in popular culture. Oh, this was... Okay, just wait till you guys hear this. Taylor's case makes a prominent appearance in David Pierce's novel 1977, the second of pieces of... Yeah, David Peace. The second of Peace's Red Riding Quartet. Taylor, renamed Michael Williams, is exorcised by Father Martin Laws, the series' main villain, and afterward kills his wife Carol by driving a nail into her skull. Jack Whitehead, one of the 2 protagonists, witnesses the exorcism of Williams and the murder of Carol Williams, his ex-wife, which as in real life takes place in Othersyde. Now here's the one that's going to get you guys, because this movie just came out not too long ago. Taylor's case is mentioned in the 2021 film The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, which is based on another case in which the killer claimed demonic possession, that of Arnie Cheyenne Johnson, who killed his landlord with a pocket knife in fit of rage in 1981. Let's see, the trial of Arnie Cheyenne Johnson. So I'm not going to read any of this, but if you guys are interested in these cases, as I stated, if you're in our Discord server, check the Othersyde scraps under podcast leftovers. I am putting these cases, these articles in there if you guys want to check them out. 1975, Annalise Michael. This became the subject of The Exorcism of Emily Rose. You guys want to read up on that as well? That article is going in there as well. Annalise Michael. She was a gorgeous girl back in the 70s. Was. And she died. Oh my God. Yep, she died in 1976. And that was the, damn. Let's read about her death. So there was a heavy exorcism being attempted on her. She died at her home. The autopsy report stated the cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration, resulting from almost a year in a state of near starvation while the rites of exorcism were performed. She weighed 66 pounds, suffered broken knees from continuous, let me see what that word is there. Copy. I'm gonna look into that here.
Genuflections.
Genuflections. Continuous genuflections. Was unable to move without assistance and was reported to have contracted pneumonia. That poor girl. She was only 23 years old. Manner of death. Homicide. Cause of death: malnutrition and dehydration. They didn't let this poor girl eat or drink. Now, you would think at least, when it comes to stuff like this, if you got an exorcism that's taken place over a matter of a year or whatever, you gotta be able to at least give them food and water or something, pump it in their veins somehow. The body has to live off of something, you know? You're performing an exorcism, you're trying to exorcise a demon from a body, from a vessel. The vessel that's still alive. You're not fighting an actual demon, you're fighting the spirit of a demon that's taken over an actual human body. That body still thrives off of food and water. That's what happened in this case right here. Poor Anna Elizabeth Michael died of malnutrition and dehydration. That should have never happened. But then this article also talks about the killing of Annalise Michael and the bishops and all that were involved in this. The verdict was guilty. Motive was attempted exorcism. Convictions: negligent homicide. Sentence: 3-year suspended sentence. Trial took place in West Germany. Well, everything took place in West Germany. That is truly sad. It's a hell of a movie to watch, too. You guys want to check out The Exorcism of Emily Rose? Oh, and also a movie, Requiem. I heard of the movie Requiem, but I didn't know it had something to do with it. See, the film focused on the medical condition of epilepsy seen in real-life events of Annalise Michael, a German woman who was allegedly possessed by 6 or more demons and died in 1976. Okay, so this is pretty much a retelling, sort of, movie about her case. Requiem. Oh, that was a terrible thing. That was a poor, terrible thing. That poor girl, she suffered greatly. Not just from a demonic possession. She suffered at the hands of priests. A group of people that, should have known, hey, this body is starving. Feed it. Give it something. But you don't see that in movies, though. You don't see that kind of thing in movies. Look at The Exorcist. How long has Regan starved for? Or the real-life Exorcist story of Roland Doe. Ronald, whatever the fuck his name was. Did they get any kind of water or food inside their system the whole time that they were possessed? You never know. Now, I will say this. Now, before I continue on. Okay. How long can the human body go without water? Alright. Give me a straight fact here. Please. Time. 65, 70. Okay. You cannot survive more than 8 to 21 days without food and water. Food, on the other hand, depending on your body mass, depending on your body fat, your body weight, whatever, you can live probably up to a month or 2 without food. But water, you need water. You need water to hydrate your body with it. And depending on this whole thing of with her being exercised for about a year, like, my God, what does this also say here? The 2 doctors, the 2 priests and their parents were convinced of negligent manslaughter. Well, they were convicted of negligent manslaughter for failing to call a medical doctor to address her eating disorder as she died weighing at 68 pounds. I thought it was 66. I don't know. The case was labeled as misidentification of mental illness, negligence, abuse, and religious hysteria. Let's move on to that. Let's move on from that one. Bobby Jindal, former governor of Louisiana, wrote in an essay in 1994 about his personal experience of performing an exorcism on an intimate friend named Susan while in college. Then we got Mother Teresa. Yes, that Mother Teresa allegedly underwent an exorcism late in her life under the direction of the Archbishop of Calcutta, Henry de Souza, after he noticed that she seemed to be extremely agitated in her sleep and feared that she might be under the attack of the evil one. There's always something nice to learn about somebody that's in pop culture, not really pop culture, but she was very popular, Mother Teresa. When did she pass away? Back in 97. Okay, she was 87 years old. Mother Teresa. Let's see, in 2005, Tanachu Exorcism is a case in which mentally ill Romanian nun was killed during an exorcism by the priest Daniel Petre, whatever his last name is. The case inspired the motion pictures Beyond the Hills and The Crucifixion. I vaguely heard about The Crucifixion, but I know nothing too much about that. But the case itself, you guys will be able to read now. It is going up in the Othersyde scraps. You guys want to read up on that. And the October 2007, what the hell? Okay, 22-year. Okay, Jeanette Moses. Okay, in 2007, 22-year-old Jeanette Moses or Janet Moses in the Wellington, New Zealand suburb of let's do one more word here for the translator. Guys, I hate doing this. I hate not being able to read this kind of shit. But these are impossible words.
Wainuia Mata.
Waiuni Mata. The suburb of Waiuni Dapata led to the death of the drowning of a woman and the hospitalization of a teenager. After a long trial, 5 family members were convicted and sentenced to a non-custodial sentences. So the killing of Jeanette Moses. There's another one that's going up in the Othersyde scraps. You guys want to read up on that? Feel free to do so. So, there's other things going on here. So let's see. Oh, God, gay exorcism? Oh, I'm going a little off topic here, but I curiosity. Clear curiosity. Gay exorcisms. Similar to demonic exorcisms, are where an exorcist evicts homosexual demons or other spiritual entities from an LGBT individual. These exorcisms are intended to remove homosexuality from an individual. Reports of these exorcisms still occur in modern days, but are usually kept secret within the church. Okay. So anyway, that's today's topic of exorcisms. Learned quite a bit today about exorcism, guys. We'll do one more quick thing about the facts and the fictions about exorcisms. Do one more thing about that. If I can get out of that, okay. Fictional exorcisms. Hollywood, of course, has been eager to capitalize on the public's continued fascination of exorcism and demonic possessions with films often dubbed based on a true story. There are countless exorcism-inspired films, including The Last Exorcism, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Devil Inside, and The Rite, widely varying in quality, originality, and scariness. Really. The greatest cultural influence, of course, came from the classic The Exorcist. And the weeks after the film came out in 1974. No, the film came out in 73. Well, yeah, the ass end of 73 December. That is right. Okay, so I guess in the latter weeks, going into January 1974. Okay. The Boston Catholic Center received daily requests for exorcisms. The script was written by William Peter Blatty, adapted from his best-selling 1971 novel of the same name. Blatty described the inspiration for the film as a Washington Post article he read in 1949 about a Maryland boy who had been exorcised. Blatty believed it was an accurate account, though later research revealed that the story had been sensationalized, was far from credible. Which, of course, when you see the movie, and then you read up on the case of the boy that was exorcised. Some of the facts aren't there. Some of the facts are not there. I mean, yes, there was a child that was possessed. Exorcism took place in their home. It was successful. But also, a lot of these movies, when you go and watch them, anything that's based on a true story, always do your research. They may be based on an actual event, but you'll want to read up on the story before watching the movie. Because when you watch the movie, you assume what you see on screen is what happened in real life. No, it's not. Look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's based on Ed Gein and another serial killer back then. But the killer's name is Leatherface. Wields a chainsaw. Kills his victims and cuts their body parts up. Yeah, Ed Gein was a sicko too, but this movie is loosely based off of Ed Gein. Has nothing to do with Ed Gein. It was based off of what Ed Gein was back in the 70s. So when you watch a movie today that deals with exorcisms, like I say, always read up on the story first. Then come back and watch the movie. That way you know what to expect. You know what the movie's going to be about. It's going to be completely different. It's going to be somewhat in a case that's similar to what happened, but it's not going to be actually based on it. That's all I'm saying. Real exorcisms. While many Americans think real exorcisms as relics of the Dark Ages, exorcisms continue to be performed, often on people who are emotionally and mentally disturbed. Whether those undergoing the exorcism are truly possessed by spirits or demons in another matter entirely, exorcisms are done on people of strong religious faith. To the extent of exorcisms work, it is due to the power of suggestion and psychology. If you believe you are possessed, then you just might be. So there is a good bit here to talk about when it comes to that. Nah, not too much. Okay, the article's not that long. Okay. So if you guys want to also read up on that, like I said, it's over in the Othersyde scraps on our Discord. So we got that. And we're running just close to our 2-hour mark, guys. It is coming to the end of the show. Wasn't really planning on making it 2 hours long. But there's a lot to talk about when it comes to exorcisms. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the movies that are based on the stories of these exorcisms. And it's always interesting to read up on them. Like I said, when you read up on these people that have had these things happen to them, you start having a different focal of life when you read them, because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that this actually happens. This actually takes place. People are actually being exorcised. I'm not talking about getting up on a fucking Stairmaster or some shit. I'm talking about somebody who has a spirit being exorcised from their body, being removed from their body, that kind of thing. But can you imagine being possessed by something as great as, not as great, but as holy as a devil or a demon, something very demonic, something very evil? I couldn't imagine that. Hauntings are one thing, places can be haunted by that kind of stuff, but being possessed by it, it's like, nah, that's not for me. Anyway, guys, we want to thank you for coming to today's show, for checking out today's show. Episode 3 of The Othersyde, Exorcisms. Now we're going to alternate this every other week, so next week you guys will be here for our episode of Tune In Live, where I do a lot of catching up to do. Tomorrow, Friday the 13th. Yes, tomorrow is Friday the 13th, which makes today October the 12th. But tomorrow, Friday the 13th, I will be live late in the morning, maybe early afternoon, with my co-host, Cypher, Tom. We will be live with Utter Random Crap, our URC podcast. It's going to be a special Friday the 13th episode. You guys want to be part of it? Like I said, feel free to join in the Discord, hop in the VC, share your thoughts, anything of that nature. Remember, we do have limits, which is what type of content is allowed. So always remember that. Anyway, guys, thank you very much today. If you're watching us on Kick or on Twitch, links are down below in the About section for our social media and other pages as well, including the link to our Discord channel, our Discord server. If you are on YouTube, watching us on YouTube, links are down in the description section for all the same. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, follow buttons. Also, if you ever want to, feel free to donate to Arrow Entertainment. If you want to, feel free to reach out and donate or whatever. We do accept donations. Cash App is down below in the description section and the About sections as well. Don't have to do it, but if you want to, we are always obliged to your donation. And until next time, guys, stay out there, stay alert, and we'll catch you next time right here on the other side.
What we do here is go back.
Loud.